Today we want to talk about starter watches. That can be a very wide range of conversation when you're talking to any dealer or enthusiast about watches. A lot depends on their personal history or what maybe they've recommended to a family, a friend, a loved one recently. So for us, when we started talking about this video, we came up with 3 categories that we want to bring to the table today. And they're all based on age. Our first category is between the age of around 10 to around 18 or 20. The second category is going to be around the age of 30. And the last category is going to be around the age of 50. Those represent different times in people's lives, obviously, and different needs in those times, and a lot of times different pay scales in those times. We also decided to go subcategories for each of the 3 categories. We want to go with a dress watch, a sports watch, and an everyday watch. So we're going to go over what our picks are. Some are common watches, some are not so common watches. But we feel pretty good about the ones we picked, so let's get right into it. On our age 10 to 18, as a starter watch, you can think of it as individually or you can think of it as a kit. It would be our dress watch. We decided to go with the Orient Bambino white dial on leather. Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about that watch?
Sure. So the Orient Bambino, it's 38 millimeter case, 40-hour power reserve, hacking seconds, which is rare for something in that price point, 30-meter water resistance, hardlex crystals, so you do have to worry a little bit about scratches, but overall just a really, really good entry-level dress watch, especially for the money. I mean, there's you can spend a lot more to get very similar specs. So with that said, just a great starting point in my opinion. What do you think about it, Rob?
I love it. I have one, and it is one of my best looking watches, which is sad to say, I guess, if you're looking at price. But you can pick one up from the $200 to about $400 range. When I looked earlier today, I think I saw one on sale for around $285, $295 maybe. I think I got mine brand new for around $220 possibly. But I think for the money, they look great up close, and they look really great 5-10 feet away. Mm-hmm. It is definitely something, if you were in that age group of 10 to 18, I think you could keep it for a very long time. Mm-hmm. It is definitely on the short list of what I'm going to buy my 12-year-old. It's something for a dress watch. He's recently asked me for one for a dress watch, and that one's taken the top of the list so far. Let's get into sports. So when it comes to sports, we would like to pick the Seiko 5 black dial. Zach, tell us a little bit about this watch.
Sure. So I campaigned for that one in particular because that one hit a little close to home. In 2012, my very first mechanical watch was the predecessor to this current model. So 37.4 millimeter case, you've got a 41-hour power reserve, 100 meters water resistance, which is really nice. You do have a mineral glass crystal, so again, you got to worry about scratching, but it can always be buffed out. But just a really, really great starter watch that you can be a little bit rougher with. Also, the version that I had predated this movement, but now you've got the 4R36 in it. You got hacking seconds. Again, hard to do in that price point. It's not. I mean, there's still Pateks that don't have hacking seconds.
It's true.
So there's it's just another one that I think is a great place to start and gives you a ton of watch for the money. And that one in particular, it's got a little bit of a classier vibe. You've got so many Seiko 5s out there. You got the field category, you've got some that are more like the diver category, but this one's just a little bit different, a little bit off the beaten path.
Absolutely. And once again, Seiko can fluctuate with their prices too. You're around the $400 mark for this watch, maybe a little bit under. So let's say that this kid of ours, or this teenager or child or friend or niece or nephew of ours, is an outdoors person, and they're always out hunting, fishing, hiking, whatever it is they're doing, or they're into sports. Say they're into track, or they're into any type of fitness at all. We picked a different watch than what everyone else normally would pick, and I think G-Shock is where most people go here for that first starter watch, and there's nothing wrong with G-Shock. I own many of them. Both of my sons own G-Shocks. I love G-Shocks. But for this one, for the everyday, we picked the Timex Ironman. which used to be, if you go back to the 90s and into the early 2000s, that was an insanely popular watch. But I've noticed I've started seeing them more and more out in the wild. I ran into a family member that I get to see every couple of years. They live a long ways away recently, and that's what was on his wrist. And so I, spotted it from a mile away and smiled. So the Timex Ironman, $120 watch roughly. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Sure. So 42 millimeter case, largest that we've talked about in this category. Quartz, of course, so you're going to have roughly a 2-year battery life expected out of most quartz watches. However, you do have the Indiglow, so it lights up. You've got chronograph functions, all that. If you run those, it's probably going to go through that battery a little more quickly. That particular one has a 100-meter water resistance, acrylic crystal, so same conversation. You got to worry about scratches. I don't know if you can buff acrylic. We might have to put a little asterisk up on the screen and say whether you can or not.
Right.
But that one may or may not be salvageable. But overall, a great rough and tumble watch. I remember for a good portion of my childhood, all my dad wore was a Ironman, and there was a portion of my childhood where I was driving race cars and going down that route, and my father would be working on those race cars, doing all the maintenance, all that kind of stuff, and he would have that watch on his wrist. So,
absolutely,
it's a great watch that you can beat up a little bit, and if it gets a scratch on the crystal, it's not the end of the world.
It's just not. It builds character for them. They're a lot tougher than I think people realize if they've not owned one. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the 30-year-old. So the 30 range of age for a lot of people, you've started your career more than likely that you plan on being in for a little while. And so here's the thing, your career may be, you may be a bank teller, you may be in financing, or you may be a mechanic, you may be in construction, you may be, in outdoors, right? That may be your lifestyle. So that's, once again, it's why we picked the 3 different categories. So we want to start with the dress watch for a 30-year-old. We're going to up the price a little bit. On this one, we also feel like we picked one that is not on everyone's list, I wouldn't say, but is a beautiful, beautiful example of a dress watch. And that's the Junghans Max Bill automatic with numerals. So with that, we would love to get the black dial. I think it is just purely a class look for a dress watch. That also comes with sapphire. Tell us a little bit about that watch.
Sure. So 38 millimeters on that guy. As you said, it's got a sapphire crystal, 38-hour power reserve, hacking seconds hand, 50 meters of water resistance. So we upped it a little bit versus the Bambino. It's just another really, really neat watch, and it is a little bit off the beaten path, like you alluded to. So, I just think Junghans makes a wonderful product for the money. You're getting a watch that has some real history to it. There's some talking points, and it's just it's a great piece that it's hard to imagine too many people saying anything negative about the Junghans Max Bill in general.
Absolutely, Max Bill was a phenomenal designer, and made his bones in wall clocks, which you can still see online today, and they are beautiful, and you can tell it's his stuff. But you can, when you look at this watch, you imagine, yep, we took a wall clock and we put it on a wrist. In this case, it's a black dial, but they make plenty in white and cream colors that are just beautiful, beautiful watches. And his design, he definitely went with the simple is better, but he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. The next one we want to go into this category for the 30-year-old is the sports side. We both love Oris. We think they're a great company, so we picked an Oris on this one. And we picked the Aquis Date Upcycle, which is definitely a very unique watch. If you haven't seen it, definitely take the opportunity, if you have a dealer near you, to walk into a store and just look at them. Just hold them, touch them, put them on your wrist. Great story behind it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the 40? We want to go with the 41.5 on this one, I think, is the one we wanted. Right. Tell us a little bit about it.
So the Aquis Date Upcycle, first off the touch, you talked about seeing the dials. The cool thing about that is whatever AD you walk into, you're not going to see the same dial as you saw at another AD. So it is recycled PET plastics that they recovered from the ocean. and they melt them down and turn it into a coating that they're putting over that dial. So no two dials are alike. You're going to have a kind of a piece unique, if you will, just based on where the color pattern, how it falls. But great watch overall. As you said, has a 41-hour power reserve on it. You've got 300 meters of water resistance, AR-coated sapphire crystal. That's the first time that we've mentioned that on this list.
Right.
So it's a little bit more attention to detail than you necessarily had before. There's not really soft curves and smooth transitions on an Aquis. It's a watch with a purpose, and it is to dive and to be, to a degree thrashed around, but it is just a really, really good watch for the money. Their Oris calibers based on the Sleet SW200, so it's a fairly durable movement. Just, one of those Swiss workhorse movements that you see in a lot of brands.
Absolutely. This watch comes in around $2,900 brand new, and it is a really, really attractive watch. I personally really like it. So when they make the dial, if you can imagine just a big block, and it's got all of these pieces of the plastic, for lack of better words, in it, and all the different colors, and they just shave off of that block. So the chance of having two dials, like Zach alluded to, that are identical is just impossible. You can have them similar, but it cannot be the same exact color and pattern. It's just not possible. So you do get that piece unique in that. Okay, so for our 30-year-old, we want to pick an everyday watch, something that can take a beating and look good in most settings and really tell a story 10 years after they've owned it of their last 10 years in life. So what we came up with was the great company of Hamilton. There's a lot you can pick in that company for sure. But we went with the Khaki Field Titanium Auto. We prefer the blue on the bracelet, but there's others to choose from. Zach, tell us a little bit about that watch.
Sure. So specifically the one that we were talking about, 42 millimeter version. You've got a H10 caliber movement in there, 80-hour power reserve. Now Hamilton and well, really Swatch, achieves that by slowing the beat rate down. So you've got a 21,500 vibration per hour movement as opposed to your standard 28,800. But what that allows you to do is get 80 hours of power reserve out of a watch that is, priced very, very well. Titanium, really cool material. It's about 40% lighter than 316L steel, so yep. Nice in that regard. Hacking seconds, 100 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal, so we don't have to worry about scratching it. Right. No AR coating on this one, but I've owned two of these, and I don't know that it was really a big deal to not have AR coating on that crystal.
Absolutely. Zach, I also love Hamilton. Absolutely love Hamilton. My whole family has Hamilton, or most of them do. And there's several more on the to-buy list right now as we speak. But that particular watch, that Khaki Field in titanium, for a price of $1,245, is a lot of watch for $1,245. That's retail as of right now. But I tell you, that is one, I would definitely buy that watch new. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to get it in pristine shape. And like I said, let it tell that story about your life for the next 10, 15 years, ever how long you want to wear it. So next we want to talk about the 50-year-old. So the 50-year-old has probably been in their line of work for a little bit of time. Maybe they've got a little bit of expendable income they can use, and maybe they're tired of having the same Apple Watch that everyone else has on, or maybe they're tired of not having a watch at all. Maybe they have hit a milestone in their life, in their career, and whatever it is, and they're like, okay, I want to get into watches. So we picked three for that person as well. I'm going to kick it over to Zach to tell us a little bit about these three.
Sure. So starting out, we've got the Nomos Tangente Neomatik Update 41. So it's a little deceiving, actually. It's 40.5 millimeter case, but a really, really cool watch. What's special about that to me is the update system. So you do hear some people talk about they hate cluttered dials, or even the date aperture on a watch dial kind of, just ruins it for them. Well, instead of doing a pointer date so that you have a extra hand on your watch, you've got each of the days around the very edge of the dial, and there are these two little loomed blocks that will actually straddle whatever the date is. So if it's the 24th, you're going to see, specifically we're talking about the midnight blue, so you're going to have a green block to the left of the 24 and a green block to the right of the 24. So it's a really neat system. I don't think I've ever seen that before, and I have gotten to play with it in person, and it's a cool watch. So really neat watch in that regard. It's got a 42-hour power reserve. It's powered by the DUW 6101. So this is the first time that we're talking about a true in-house movement. Yeah. So it's their own manufacturer caliber, which is a nice feature as well. It's got hacking seconds, 50 meters of water resistance, AR-coated sapphire crystal. Another thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention when we're talking about Nomos is their straps. They do a really, really good job with their straps, and this particular watch comes with their shell cordovan leather strap. But what's nice is most of these watch brands, when we're selling them in the authorized dealer, you might have one or two straps around, but like when you buy in, you get all the watches, you don't necessarily have a ton of straps to offer. But when we started carrying Nomos, they sent us a ton of different straps. So the idea is, pick up a watch and then get an extra strap to go with it. And the price point on a Nomos strap is pretty decent compared to some of their competition in that same kind of price category. So you can get a few different nice quality straps and change up the look. I just think that the feel, the view of that movement when you're looking through that exhibition case back is just, it's a pretty movement. It's well executed. I think it's great for the money.
So this watch comes in at $4,320. And what you're going to see at that level is some improvements on movements, some improvements on straps, some improvements on finishing. You're going to get a better watch at $4,000 a lot of times than what you can maybe get for $1,000. Not always, but you can definitely tell where some of that money's going. So that's the dress. So for the sports watch, what do we pick?
So we went Longines Legend Diver. We specifically talked 39 millimeter, which means you're getting the kind of updated movement. You're getting a chronometer, COSC certified, 72-hour power reserve. You've got the hacking seconds again. Now, this is the first one we've talked about that has a double AR coated. So not only the outside, but the inside of the crystal is coated, which is, again, just a little extra attention to detail. But beautiful watch. Specifically, we talked about it on the strap, and I know that you're a big fan of their straps, but even if you go bracelet, that Beads of Rice bracelet is pretty.
It is.
It's just a neat watch in general. I think that compression style diver is just such a cool style with that internal rotating bezel. So you've got the extra crown on there. It's a cool watch, and you are getting 300 meters of water resistance. You are getting all the things you want out of a sports watch, but you're also getting a little bit of a vintage flair.
100%. So I have a version of this watch, and I will say that I have it on a leather strap, and it is absolutely my favorite leather strap that I've ever received stock from a watch brand. And I will tell you this too, so when you're looking at it, the bracelet or the leather strap, it really depends on if you want to use this watch for diving. If so, get it on the bracelet, You can always pick up the strap a little bit later if you want to. What I like about this particular dive watch is it breaks all the rules of can you wear a dive watch with a sports coat or a suit. 100% you can this one. This one straddles the dress sport as good as any other watch that I've seen, to be very honest with you. I think they nailed that look. And it's all about how the configuration of that case is. But you will not be disappointed with that watch. It is a beautifully fitting, it's fun to move the dial around. It's fun to play with that watch. It's just a really cool watch. A little bit cheaper, $3,250 on the leather strap. That leather strap is by far the best feeling leather strap I have ever put on my wrist. When I put that watch on my wrist, Reed's had brought in 2 Longines for me to try out, and it was a very, very tough decision. I love the one I got, and I love the one I didn't get, and it's on my short list. But when I put that one on my wrist, I was sold. I knew that was the watch for me. Zach, I think you had a little comment that you kind of laughed at me the day I bought that one.
Well, before you picked that watch up, you were not a strap guy. No. So I think that your version, the 42 millimeter version on the leather strap, made you a leather strap guy because you've been talking about them ever since.
It did. I could have been a salesman for them that day, I do believe.
Sure.
So our third and final one for our picks is for the 50-year-old again, and it is going to be the everyday. So we need that one watch that the 50-year-old can put on his wrist or her wrist and just flat wear it to do everything. What's your thoughts?
So we went Tudor Ranger with this, which is probably the most, guessable watch that we had on there. Predictable, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The most predictable watch that we had on our list, but it's just too good. I mean, it is such an awesome watch.
It is.
You've got the 39 millimeter case, which is, nice and wearable. You can have a larger wrist or a smaller wrist and still pull that off. You've got their MT5402 manufacturer movements, going to be chronometer spec. You've got a 70-hour power reserve on that guy. AR coated sapphire crystal, and just, it's a great timepiece. You've got 100 meters of water resistance as well. And it's just a great timepiece. You've got guys that their end game watch is the Rolex Explorer.
Right.
Well, this is basically a Rolex Explorer
Right.
for half the price.
Right.
I mean, it is just a really, really great watch, and that's why, out of all the Tudors on my short list, that's probably the Tudor that I add to my collection when the time comes.
I totally agree. I love Tudor. I've picked up a couple recently, and my wife got one recently. Absolutely love their watches. But I tell you, that Tudor Ranger is an amazing watch. For $3,575 retail right now, you get so much watch for that money. That 39 hits a lot of people's, perfect little, I feel good with this size. Even though I'm someone that typically likes a 41 or 42, and there's a lot of people out there that like the 36 or 38, so this is right in the middle. I mean, it wears really well on a lot of people's wrist. I think that 39 is hard to put on and go, yeah, this is not the right size for me. It's really the right size for most people is the reality in it. And Tudor is just an absolute workhorse. You could wear that watch with a sports coat. You could wear that watch deep sea fishing, whatever in between. So that's our list today. I know it's a little bit of a longer video and we went over our picks. They may not be your picks, but maybe we brought up something today that is totally different that you're like, man, I would have never thought about putting that one in that slot. Possibly you're looking at maybe gifting a watch to someone. Maybe we gave you some good ideas. Maybe you're brand new to collecting and you're just getting started on your journey. Maybe this gives you at least a couple to look at that you maybe wouldn't have found otherwise. We really would love a like, a comment, share, subscribe. Tell us in the comments your story. What are you looking at next? What did you start with? What age were you when you really had an epiphany that you really liked watches? If you're at a certain age now and you're really looking to start your next or start this journey, we would love to help you out with that. Zach sells watches for a living, and I can just tell you what I've got and what I like and don't like, but we would love to help you on that journey to assist you. We really appreciate it. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see you soon.